It's November the 7th, 2016. I'm Dana, your host, the nuclear proctologist.org. And we are live streaming That Beautiful Girl by Dana the day before the mighty elections in America. And we have a compelling story for everybody. Probably one of the best stories imaginable. We waited till the last day on purpose before we told the story. And this is the day. Here we go. And we're ready to rock and roll. Hello to everybody in the comments section. And I know most people have a hard time catching these streams. And that'll get better in the future. Elaine, never even said hi to Elaine the last stream, I don't believe. That wasn't normal for me. Sorry, Elaine. Elaine's moderating. We have Neil and Bitey and Gina. I can't get my mouse. And that'll get more livelier as the next hour plays out. Hello, everybody. Let's wind the music down and get rocking. We have an audio show, video show for everybody today. And what we mean by that is we have a whole lot of clips to get through. It's about 40 minutes to an hour. But it's one of those streams that are really important and have to be done. And that story has to be told. And here we go. Dana ever gets his act together. I will. Now, most of this story is based upon 2011 Hillary Clinton. And so there's a lot of big stories. We're going to cover some of them. They're not necessarily part of Hillary, but a majority of them certainly are. Remember in 2011, Rupert Murdoch?
Wendy Murdoch was easy to pick out. In Pink, when you're 38 years younger than your husband, it's nice to rub his back and pour him water before he testifies. She even restrained him when he pounded the table too much.
Who are proud and great.
But she didn't restrain herself when this happened. An activist pulled a foam-filled plastic pie plate out of a plastic bag. Some of that foam landed on CNN producer Jonathan Wald as the attacker
plunges it squarely into the face of Rupert Murdoch.
And that's when his wife Wendy whacked the guy, even picked up the plate.
Hit him back with it. It was all extremely dramatic.
Sort of.
Now, this was 2011. How did that become dramatic? Outside of the fact that Rupert Murdoch crew were hacking children's telephones that were dead in order to steal the messaging from their friends so they can have a salacious headline. And the pie in the face was the distraction. But it was a big year, really big year. That was the year of Steve Jobs dying, and we'll just play. Most of these clips are only 30 seconds to a minute, so let's keep rolling.
From Washington to Cupertino and from Hong Kong to the blogosphere. News that Apple co-founder Steve Jobs passed away at age 56 came as a jolt, especially to Apple users like Mike Scioli.
I really couldn't believe that he passed away. I thought sort of it was a marketing stunt, and then sure enough, it was confirmed.
Yeah, a marketing stunt. But it was that kind of year where you had all these big stories going on. So you might not have heard the stories that I'm going to tell you today. There was a huge amount. Remember, that was the year Kim Jong-il died.
Good afternoon, everyone. We both share a common interest in a peaceful and stable transition in North Korea, as well as in ensuring regional peace and stability. We reiterate our hope for improved relations with the people of North Korea and remain deeply concerned about their well-being.
And so that's all fun and games and fine and true. But once again, I'm just building up the story so you can understand. 2011 was an interesting year for Hillary Clinton. There was a lot on the plate, a lot going on. She had her fingers in all kinds of places. It was also the year of the London riots. This is a 22-second. Tells the story much better than I can.
Good morning, that's right. Violence last night spread outside London to Birmingham, Liverpool. There were isolated incidents in Bristol and other cities. At the epicenter of this sort of firestorm of rioting, it remains in London. Last night it spread to some really quite affluent areas in South and West London.
And so West London, South, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you're talking about the whole country in UK was fixated for a very long time after. All of these stories took up enormous amount of media, news, and everything else. We're just building the story. It was the same year, we're using the American flag today, the same year Prince William got married. Of course, that chewed up the media. And a little clip of Hillary introducing. Now, there's 6 times more breast cancer around nuclear power plants, but anyway.
To invite back and have you come because of your extraordinary commitment to the fight against breast cancer. I want to welcome all of you, and particularly our guest of honor, Diana, Princess of Wales. I was thinking as I met her in the Blue Room that this is one of the nicest British invasions that the White House has ever had. The other one, as some of you may remember from history, burned the place down, but now we have...
Okay, so now we see this was a very busy year. This was also the year of, so you had Prince William got married, the London riots, you had North Korea, you had Steve Jobs, you had Rupert Murdoch, all in the same year. But the Egypt burning that year and many other countries, Hillary had her fingers in all of that also. And you have to look at your past to understand your future. When you're talking about people in positions of influence. And we send out hugs for Gina. Hugs, Gina. Thought I missed that. Bet you I did not. Here we go with the next one. This is a series of 2 clips, 8 seconds and 24 seconds. Going to play concurrent.
It's 19 hours GMT, 9 o'clock in Cairo. Excitement is growing.
We are witnessing history unfold. It's a moment of transformation that's taking place because the people of Egypt are calling for change. America will continue to do everything that we can to support an orderly and genuine transition to democracy in Egypt.
Enjoy that. I've never been to Alexandria. That's been one of my great regrets.
Now, that is Hillary in 2009 with Mubarak visiting the Americans. No, she's visiting them, I think, if I remember correctly. Here we go.
But I remind you of Clinton about Sharm el-Sheikh.
Oh, I know.
Don't forget.
How could I forget? I had the most wonderful time in Sharm el-Sheikh. But I like to see more of the country, so the North Coast sounds exciting.
Not anymore. More of that coming up. Let's keep going. There's another 3 clips. It's about a minute and a half total. Here we go.
As events appear to be coming to a head.
A handful of Egyptians grew to hundreds, grew to thousands, grew to millions.
We all here are celebrating already. We believe that something is going to happen. We believe that the president, inshallah, will step down.
Well, the only thing I'm expecting to hear from Hosni Mubarak tonight is that he's leaving. Now, my own personal preference, of course, is for him to stay in the country and get prosecuted.
It's almost as if President Obama is waiting for the cue from Egypt to know exactly in which direction this is going to take place.
What you're going to see from this administration is a hesitancy to talk in public until President Mubarak makes his speech, because if you look back at the 30-plus years of a relationship with President Mubarak, there are pictures of every U.S. president gladly meeting him in the Oval Office, and there's the talk of all of that tens of billions of dollars worth of aid that went to prop up his government.
Thank you very much. And we will not return to the false choice between freedom and stability. And we will not pull back our support for emerging democracies when the going gets rough. So for the United States, supporting democratic transitions is not a matter of idealism. It is a strategic necessity.
And the Center for Strategic blah, 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 they're as pro-nuclear as you can possibly get. Literally and figuratively, as pro-nuclear as you can get. Do people remember the Occupy Wall Street? That was in 2011 also.
Wages didn't go up, but prices went up. Gas goes up, milk goes up, trains go up. How am I supposed to live? And this is all because our government prints too much money, starts too much wars so they can sell their tanks, their guns, their missiles, because that's all America exports. It's guns, missiles, and tanks.
Guns, missiles, and tanks. 29,000 rapes a year in the military. I'm not going to bother playing you the clips. 5.5 million rounds a month in Afghanistan. 5 million orphans in Afghanistan, millions missing, millions unaccounted for, millions in refugee camps. To get 10,000 Taliban. 5.5 million rounds a month for 9 years, still there, not at that rate, but 5.5 million rounds a month. Imagine firing that into your country somewhere. Okay. This one is a Canadian talking about what Hillary done to Syria. The war in Syria started in 2011. All of these stories basically are 2011 so far. Let's play that. That is 1 minute, 25 seconds. This is one of the most powerful clips, right to the very end, I've ever saw, that really tells the story and appreciate them producing this material. Is incredible to really appreciate it. Here we go.
Welcome to Canadian Times. This week in the news, Hillary Clinton's foreign policy has brought destruction to the Middle East. If you look at the city of Homs, Syria, you look at the video that I'm showing you here. This is a city about the size of Toronto. As far as the eye can see, you see destruction. You see condos and office buildings, hospitals, mosques, churches, completely annihilated. Businesses that people worked hard at, trying to build a life for themselves, and then they lost everything. How did this happen? It didn't happen by accident. It happened by design. Bad foreign policy from Hillary Clinton. Yes, from Hillary Clinton. You remember, she announced that there was going to be in 2011 this Arab Spring. And we saw it sweep Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, and Syria, and Iraq, and it even tried to get into Jordan and other countries of the Middle East. And she promised that this would be a wave of democracy and liberty for all.
Okay. We're talking about another country wrecked. We're talking about millions more without homes and nowhere to go back and displaced and sent to other countries and forced to flee. It could happen to you in a heartbeat. But you live a very safe life. You have to worry about the gangbangers in your street corner, but you don't have to worry about F-16 fighter jets or aircraft carriers or destroyers firing at you from 80 miles at sea. You don't have to worry about economic sanctions where your loved ones are not able to get things they need desperately. This next video was Deer Springs. And anybody who knows me, I know I covered this particular one before. It's a disturbing video. It's an inspiring video in a way you can't probably work out, because most people will turn themselves away from the violence you're going to see, and you can't blame people, but you have to look at violence to understand what really took place. And so this is a couple of protesters being beaten by police, but there's an incredible story here I want to highlight. You see the guy tripping in the middle of the screen. I'm going to zoom in at that section. You see all the police running at him. Hang on, I got to change formats. Or not. Just 1 second. I got to go find that and do that myself. There we go. Anyway, I'm supposed to be able to zoom in on that, and I'm not able to zoom in because nobody knows. Let's keep going. Now, watch the guy who stood up. Now, see, he let go of the hand at the very last second. He stays there. Watch what happens to him. He knows this is going to happen to him. Let's watch that again. Why did he stay there? Everybody else ran. Let's watch it again. He knows, he sees it. At the last second, he lets go of her hand. And he was hoping to take the blows, and they wouldn't do that to her. That's what he was trying to do. Wait for the last second. There was no way he was running away and leaving her there. Even though he knew this was going to happen. And it's not fun to watch. I get that. This is Hillary's hands. Look at the barbarians. This is what she set loose on these people. She had a direct hand in that. But look at this. He's still being beaten. Watch, look, just contempt for humanity. If he does that to him, he does it to his own loved ones and his own friends and his own family. But what you seen there was a hero. Somebody braver than probably anybody here watching this or ever watched this. Even if 1 million people, not that because I'm censored, nobody will watch this, only a handful of people. But I have 20,000 subscribers. We're going to talk about Hillary and Gaddafi. And we're going to go to, that's why I couldn't zoom in. I was in that format. Let's try this one. That'll help me. This is what Hillary had to say on Gaddafi, because this happened also in 2011. A lot going on for 2011, yes?
Yeah, apparently so. And then I'll see you
tomorrow. Thanks.
Wow.
This is Gaddafi's video. She's watching it.
Unconfirmed. Yeah.
Unconfirmed.
No.
It was, though, after, right? Here's another clip.
The land of unconfirmed videos.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No. Oh, I'm sure it did.
I'm sure it did. This is her with Gaddafi's
I am
son.
very pleased to welcome Minister Gaddafi here to the State Department. We
Reportedly showing the abusive interrogation of one of the sons of the ousted Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi by prison guards in Tripoli.
And it goes on and on and on. The story of Gaddafi's gold-backed currency. This seems to be, remember, these are all 2011. Gaddafi was taken out in 2011. There's more of that coming up, but not the video. I'm not going to show that. Clinton's emails.
Check this out. Now, some have spoken about this, but now Clinton emails have revealed the actual reason that she ousted Gaddafi. And, yes, these emails expose Hillary Clinton's true masters.
Yeah, well, it was the gold. Like Hillary, and I mean, look what they done to Libya for whatever they done. Look at, there was 30,000 shoulder rocket launcher, not rocket launchers, missile launchers. Each of them worth about $1 million. 30,000 of those went missing. They'll show up in the next conflict to knock the F-16s and everything out of the air, all the Black Hawks helicopters. Okay, we're far from over. This next one is Ray McGovern. When Hillary was talking about the Arab Spring and the repression in the Arab Spring and how those governments were repressing the people, at the very same time she was giving this speech, you'll hear this commotion going on. What you're going to see, well, I'll just play it for you, but I'll break it down a little bit more after, just to clarify for anybody that got confused.
Pictures and videos from Egypt flooded the web. On Facebook and Twitter, journalists posted on-the-spot reports. Protesters coordinated their next moves. And citizens of all stripes shared their hopes and fears about this pivotal moment in the history of their country. Millions worldwide answered in real time. You are not alone, and we are with you. Then the government pulled the plug. Cell phone service was cut off, TV satellite signals were jammed, and internet access was blocked for nearly the entire population.
So this is America.
The government
This
did
is
not
America.
want the
Who are
people
you?
to communicate with each other, and it did not want the press to communicate with the public.
Right, that's Ray McGovern, right? He was the guy who done the morning briefs to 6 presidents. He was being repressed while she was talking about foreign dictators, what she called dictators, Mubarak and Gaddafi and everybody else, and Libya and Egypt and Iran, because of the Arab Springs, were censoring the internet for what this government department was doing. And Hillary was doing all the support, background support to it. Okay. The rest of it coming up, this next one is Joe Rogan and friend, of course, talking about what they done to Gaddafi. And so rather than show you the video, because trust me, you do not want to see the video, and you probably don't want to hear the audio. But it's necessary to play that to understand that whole story, to really appreciate how twisted Hillary and company really are. As if 5.5 million rounds a month in Afghanistan and Iraq to get 10,000 Taliban, 20,000 drone strikes in India, and the millions of orphans, millions missing to get 10,000 people, wrecking 2 countries. And who won the war in Iraq and Afghanistan? It was Monsanto. I'm not going to get into it right now, but I've done videos about that, how they won that war and nobody else. Okay. So what they're going to talk about is really disturbing about what was done to Gaddafi. but I'm not going to, rather than play the video, I'm still need to tell that story. So Joe Rogan, for the next minute and a half, just turn your volume down when it gets graphic, and then when they disappear, I'll pop back in again. But it's like, yeah, it's over the top. But rather than a video,
it's very interesting when you hear like Hillary Clinton. It came out in one of these in one of her last batch of emails that got like released. It was like her and her team were bragging about how she had convinced Obama to go ahead with regime change in Libya.
Oh,
and it's
that's
like,
right.
and it's like, and then Gates comes out and writes his book, and he's like, "Look, I was against it. Hillary was for." So it's just this fucking, like, you convinced a guy, and now this country is fucked.
Well, also, I'm sure you saw the time where she was being interviewed, and she was laughing about Gaddafi dying. We saw he died.
When I said there's video evidence of her being a sociopath, I understand. It's not, Gaddafi didn't just die right before that. It's not just that you're talking about a human being who died, okay? Gaddafi died the way that dictators fear. You die. His people got a hold of him and beat him and sodomized him to death.
Yeah.
He got it's about as disturbing as it could be. What? Again, back to her laughing about getting the child rapist off. Then a few days later, she's just cackling it up.
There's a video of a guy stabbing him in the asshole.
I mean, it's insane.
You've seen that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He takes that knife and he shoves it in his ass.
Yeah.
While they're talking to him. And Gaddafi's so fucked up, he doesn't even know what's happening.
Yeah, he's like in a state of like shock or some shit's going
shock.
on. Yeah.
There's a knife in his ass. All these people have a hold of him. They're all yelling, Allah Akbar.
Yeah, that's a bad way to go.
It's a crazy way to go.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. It's probably the worst way to go, I think would be the best word. But hey, I'm just being choosy. So all of these stories are based upon 2011. Hillary Clinton had her little involvement in a lot of it. But what I was trying to show you was how many things happened in 2011. A lot of this you would be familiar with, yeah? A lot of that will resonate with you, I'm sure. But now you're seeing another narrative, so to speak. And with the ducks kind of lined up. Okay, here's another story for 2011. It seems like nobody heard about this one in Hillary for some reason. Hillary signed a pact with Japan to not check the food for radiation. And everything that came out of Japan, and still coming out of Japan, is highly radiated. Beyond any shadow of a doubt. She tried to downplay it. This was her emails that got leaked. Power outages, blah, 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 blah. Get your flashlights, new batteries. Hang on, next one. Look at the last two sentences. Anyway, the leak from last night means it's hitting us about now. I'm not going outdoors for a while. She wasn't joking. It's still not under control. The team was flown in to help get this thing under control, but it's not public record yet. And then she wasn't going outdoors for a while. You know, the average person was breathing 10 hot radioactive particles a day. They're all going to get cancer, all of those. There's 40 million becquerels in a single bed of kelp off California. And Hillary had a secret food pack. She never even tried to save the Americans. She threw in the towel for Japan, for the nuclear industry. It's really something. Now, we're almost at the end right now. We're just going to play out these clips, and then these next two clips are 4 minutes straight. And this is, let me see, 8 years old or something. These clips, it was Keith Olbermann. Now, Keith, I was watching last week, Keith Olbermann's been coming out banging at Donald Trump. And I was like, hey, hang on a second. Keith Olbermann 8 years ago was out pounding and grounding on Hillary with some really startling stuff. And so we got a condensed version, a short version. I'm going to play that for you right now. Here we go.
God knows, Senator, in this campaign, the nation has had to forgive you early and often. And despite your now traditional position of the offended victim, this nation has forgiven you. We have forgiven you your insistence that there have been widespread calls for you to end your campaign when such calls, in fact, had been few. We have forgiven you your misspeaking about Martin Luther King's relative importance to the civil rights movement. We have forgiven you your misspeaking about your under-fire landing in Bosnia. We have forgiven you insisting Michigan's vote would not count and then claiming those who would not count it were undemocratic. We have forgiven you pledging to not campaign in Florida and thus disenfranchise voters there, and then claiming those who stuck to those rules were as wrong as those who defended slavery or denied women the vote. We have forgiven you the photos of Osama bin Laden in an anti-Obama ad. We have forgiven you the fawning over the fairness of Fox News while they were still calling you a murderer. We have forgiven you accepting Richard Mellon Scaife's endorsement and then laughing as you described his deathbed conversion. We have forgiven you the quoting the editorial or the electoral predictions of boss Karl Rove. We have forgiven you the 3 a.m. phone call commercial. We have forgiven you President Clinton's disparaging comparison of the Obama candidacy to Jesse Jackson's. We have forgiven you Geraldine Ferraro's national radio interview suggesting Obama would not still be in this race had he been a white man. We have forgiven you the dozen changing metrics and the endless self-contradictions of your insistence that your nomination is mathematically probable rather than a statistical impossibility. We have forgiven you your declaration that some primary states count and some really don't. We have forgiven you exploiting Jeremiah Wright in front of the editorial board of the lunatic fringe Pittsburgh Tribune Review. We have forgiven you exploiting William Ayers in front of the debate on ABC. We have forgiven you for your boasting of your support among working, hardworking Americans, white Americans. We have even forgiven you repeatedly praising Senator McCain at Senator Obama's expense and at your own expense and at the Democratic ticket's expense. But Senator, we cannot forgive you this. You know, my husband did not wrap up the nomination in 1992 until he won the California primary somewhere in the middle of June, right? We all remember Bobby Kennedy was assassinated in June in California. We cannot forgive you this, Senator, not because it is crass and low and unfeeling and brutal. This is unforgivable because this nation's deepest shame, its most enduring horror, its most terrifying legacy is political assassination. Lincoln, Garfield, McKinley, Kennedy, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy. And for the grace of the universe or the luck of the draw, Reagan, Ford, Truman, Nixon, Andrew Jackson, both Roosevelts, even George Wallace. The politics of this nation is steeped enough in blood, Senator Clinton. You cannot and must not invoke that imagery anywhere, at any time. And to not appreciate immediately, to still not appreciate tonight just what you have done today is to reveal an incomprehension about the America you seek to lead. This, Senator, is too much because a senator, a politician, a person who can let hang in midair the prospect that she might just be sticking around in part just in case the other guy gets shot has no business being and no capacity to be the President of the United States.
I've been around long enough. My husband did not wrap up the nomination in 1992 until he won the California primary somewhere in the middle of June, right? We all remember Bobby Kennedy was assassinated in June in California. I don't understand it. And, there's lots of speculation about why it is, but...
What's your speculation?
I don't know. I find it curious, and I don't want to attribute motives or... but it is June.
Never has ever. Hillary. I implore this said, but he doesn't have not a legacy, not a legacy. I think after me, think strong partner, Evelyn. Hi, everyone. And everybody, Gina. And any apologies. Here we go. Cut it off. I'm not going to be take your short important video.